Hello, so my name is Jim Holyoak,
And I'm Matt Shane.
and we're here at Open Space Gallery, an artist-run center in Victoria, BC, where Matt and I originally made friends about 20 years ago at the University of Victoria in our undergrad studying visual art. Since then, we've been traveling all over the place, making installations, and in fact, this is our 20th exhibition collaboratively. We each have our solo practice as well. This project is called Forestrial Brain, and it's very closely inspired by the forests on Vancouver Island. For the first stage of this project, we spent 8 days hiking the West Coast Trail, making drawings and collecting notes along the way, and plus a couple days in Bamfield at the Marine Center where we were looking at plankton and things underneath the microscopes.
And then, so the next stage is that we've brought all our sketches and photos here to Open Space Gallery, and we've covered the whole gallery with paper, which you'll see, and then we're making a giant continuous drawing all around the walls here. And the drawing is inspired by our hike on the West Coast Trail, but it's also sort of a shared dream world for us. As we're drawing, we have an ongoing conversation about ecology and about the environment out here specifically and how it matters to us, because we met here and this is kind of our home. So some of what you'll see is sort of fantasy and visions, but then some of what you'll see is more descriptive of what we saw on the West Coast Trail.
Right. Yeah, it's sort of a meeting of ecology and psychology. I mean, even if we're working directly from photographs, of course, a picture isn't the same thing as the forest itself. And this interior space is meant to be also, there's an interior space within our minds, within the space, within the city, within this island. And going into a forest is an interior experience. You go inside the forest, and as you travel around looking at things more closely or distantly, everything changes. When you're on your knees looking at a banana slug in the moss, things are different than if you're in the canopy or in a helicopter flying over. And that's what we're hoping to try to depict in here as well. There's no optimum vantage point to see the work. You're required to walk around the gallery, to look up and down and travel near and far in order to see all the details. So there'll be worlds within the world that we're creating.
And so we'll be, changing the scale as well. You'll sometimes see like a giant banana slug we hope to put in it, and then you'll see something that is actually a lot bigger that is shrunken down to a smaller scale, like ladders and walkways and stuff like that. So there will be different ways to kind of navigate through the piece. And we'll also use a variety of techniques. We use brooms and Chinese brushes, and ink and water, and probably some white paint as well. All kinds of different techniques, and also Jim has a different hand from me, so you can notice different styles, but all of these things will somehow fit together and dovetail. And I think that what that kind of gets at is the heterogeneity and abundance of life in the forest that we saw along the West Coast Trail. There's just so much life there. And everything is so epic, so big. The trees are enormous. The rocks are huge. There's incredible root systems. So we hope to show some of that in the drawing as well.
Right. So, for instance, a slug might be transforming into a boulder, might be melting into atmosphere. We'll have trees growing out of it. The trees may be melting back into liquid again. So to show this exchange of different kinds of forces, all entangled with each other, the real and the imaginary, and the observed with the idea. I guess another thought that we're trying to get at is, can a forest think? Plants don't have a central nervous system like animals do, but for one thing, they're a habitat for animals, but also we've been learning about the mycelial networks that allow trees to communicate with one another and exchange information. Even knowing to grow up or towards light shows a degree of sensation. Of course, a tree can't think like us. What we're curious about is what that would be like. What would it be like to live to be 2,000 years old? And or even to be a slug, what would it be like to move so slowly? And so trying to imagine other kinds of awareness, even if it's radically different than human, I think is important, even if it's inconclusive. It'll continue to be a mystery.
I think we're also trying to think about the kind of awareness that is engendered through communities. And when we think about forests, there are communities of trees, and the way a tree standing on its own has a much harder time surviving because it's unsheltered. But within a forest, it can thrive. And there's ways that trees pass nutrients to each other. There's ways that they send signals to each other in order to avoid pests or other inhospitable conditions. So we're kind of thinking of the forest as a giant brain or a sort of superorganism that behaves differently from a collection of individuals.
I guess it's important to say that on the 12th of August, there'll be an artist talk with Matt and I. And on the 25th, there'll be a closing event, which will also be a concert. And the 26th is the final day of the exhibition. The 27th is over. So the final stage of this growing process in the gallery will be very brief. In the meanwhile, you can come on in normal gallery hours, and chances are Matt and I will be here drawing on the wall. So every time you visit, it will change quite a bit. Yeah.
And we're also open to talking with visitors as well. That's part of our way of working, is that it's not, sorry, it's not staged in the same way that most exhibitions are, where all the work takes place behind the scenes, and then it's a nice, clean, finished exhibition. For us, you actually get to see the process, you get to see us working. Right. And then by the time it's finished and it's in its complete stage, the exhibition is over.
Right. So what you'll see in here is not just a normal gallery, but a blurring of an exhibition, a studio, a domestic space. Yeah, let me think what else. Yeah, it's a work in process, and you'll see our trail mix and all of our notes from the forest and things all scattered around. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.